Yeah, first of all, I just want to, on behalf of everybody at Texas basketball, both currently in the past, if I could represent all the people that have been in our organization before us, just want to express our sympathy to Coach Leon Black's family, but also our celebration of a life well lived. I would argue that Coach Black, in a lot of ways, is the face of Texas basketball. He played at the University of Texas. He was an assistant coach at the University of Texas, and he was a successful head coach. And then after he stopped coaching, there was no bigger supporter of Texas basketball. Through different coaches, through different venues, always had his consistent seats where him and his family and his wife sat at games. I know most recently enjoyed a relationship with Shaka, and then even more recently, we had a special day at Coach Black's house just a few weeks ago. We took our team over there, and really it was a quality day to us. Coach was great that day, talked about our defense and gave the guys a little bit of history. So just so much respect for him, and I just want to congratulate him and his family on a life well lived. It was awesome. Today, continuing to kind of connect our fan base and the Texas basketball community with our players, joined here by Courtney Ramey, somebody I have a lot of respect for. Obviously competed against him a long time. Maybe the best off-season I've ever seen of a proven player already. It's not like Ramey's sitting here trying to reinvent his game. He's an all-conference player in the Big 12. But he improved so much this summer in my eyes, and not just on the basketball court. Having a lot of success academically right now. Got his overall GPA up over 3.0 at the University of Texas, which means a lot if you know anything about Texas academically, which us three do. And Dylan to my left, just a special guy, a really, really talented player, proven body of work at his first Division I school. So many things I could talk to you about with Dylan, but I think one thing that comes to mind is, it's great when you coach players that have a passion for their university. I know these 4 guys that return are obviously have a lot of pride. We got graduates on this team, but Dylan has that pride at the University of Texas because he grew up in this area, Austin area. So I remember the first phone call we had, it was a different phone call than just talking to somebody that didn't know about Texas. So I don't want to speak for him. He's obviously one of the most talented guys in college basketball, but he has this special bond with this school, which I think is pretty cool.
Questions for the players, please? Raise your hand. Chris in the back here.
Dylan, we'll just start off talking about that. What was it like when you knew you had the opportunity to kind of come home and play for your hometown team?
Yeah, it was great. It was my dream school growing up. I always wanted to come here. I didn't have the opportunity coming out of high school, which was kind of a bummer, but when I got a call from Coach Beard and Coach York and the staff, it was a great feeling.
Was there any kind of bitterness or anything when you didn't get the chance to come here early on in your college career, or was that all gone when this opportunity came about?
Bitterness towards Coach Beard?
No, toward UT in general, just the Longhorns.
No, I just wanted to. I basically played with a chip on my shoulder, just trying to play as far as I could and prove that I was good enough to go to Texas.
Jeff, here on the far left.
Courtney, Coach Beard just talked about your improvement this offseason. When you made the decision to come back, what was it? What was in your crosshairs in terms of you wanted to improve on X, Y, Z? What was your main focus?
I think my main focus was improving my whole game, mentally, physically, and just becoming a better leader. I think since day one, me and Coach Beard had the talks of how we can do that and the things that he saw from the opposite end of the spectrum being at Texas Tech and what they game plan. So hearing that made me from day one want to trust him and just get better at those things also.
Brian in front, middle.
Yeah, Dylan, I was just curious, where do you think you were as a player coming out of high school? I mean, because I'm trying to figure out why would someone pass on a local kid?
I can't completely tell you why, but I just think that out of high school I wasn't fully physically developed. I filled out after I went to college. I was up to about 225 last season from 195 when I was coming out of high school. And I think I worked on my game as well and developed being able to play off the dribble more in my second year at Vanderbilt. So I think those are some things that I kind of was lacking coming out of high school.
And what would you say that you learned in playing at Vanderbilt that you bring in here?
I think I just learned how to lead more. being one of the oldest guys, only in my second year last year, really taught me a lot about how to lead and how to kind of stay composed under pressure and be able to, be a big time player.
Serenity on the front right.
Dylan, what are some individual and team goals you have for this year?
Me personally, I just want to star in my role as a player on this team. Obviously, we all have the goal as a team to play on Monday night, and I think that's about it.
Nick in the front.
Yeah, Courtney, I know you went through the NBA draft process this offseason. Just curious what that experience was like for you and, what sort of feedback you got.
Going through the experience really changed my whole mindset towards the game of basketball. Just understanding like the things that I was doing wasn't good enough. So getting that feedback and just seeing the things that I saw kind of helped me for college, and then being Coach Beard and his style with the NBA type of things that they do kind of helps me be on that mindset for in the future. But some of the feedback I got was just like my leadership and just improving in all aspects of my game, not being satisfied with the things I did well. Just trying to get better at those things as well.
And then for you, coming back as one of those 4 returning guys, obviously you've been here for a while. What's it like just having so many new faces on the team, and how do you sort of view your role as trying to bring all these unfamiliar faces together into, one cohesive unit?
Getting all the transfers was something that I had an idea that was going to happen. I know Coach Beard is good at that, but my role is just being a leader, just being who I am, not trying to rewrite the script. And I think that's going to help me in the long run because I view myself as that, and I think Coach Beard since day one has allowed me to be myself and also helped me out a lot.
Ross, front right.
For Dylan, will you be 100% by the first game this season?
I don't know exactly what the timetable is on my knee injury. I'm just making sure that I'm cautious and taking it slow, making sure I'm 100% when I do come back.
How are you feeling like right now? Are you able to, go full speed?
I'm able to do most things. I'm not playing full contact in practice or anything like that, but my knee does feel good, and I definitely am progressing.
Serenity on the front again.
Courtney, you talked about being a leader on the team. What are your leadership styles?
I feel like before this year, I kind of led by like example, not really by voice. I think the things that I've gotten better at is helping people in the moment, just using my voice to impact, and just understanding like that can be something that helps the younger players that we have on our team, even the older players. So I kind of took what Matt did and just created my own little things from that.
And who have you taken under your wing, like as the young guys?
I feel like I talk to Jalen the most. I feel like he has a lot of talent and he doesn't really see it. And then with us being older, I feel like he can get kind of discouraged at times. So I think I've taken him under my wing. I feel like a lot of people, I feel like I've taken other players under my wing too, not just the freshmen.
Keenan on the back pass.
Hey Dylan, Keenan Orange Bloods. So you're an elite rebounder and scorer going back to your days at Vanderbilt. What other roles do you think you would fill on this team?
I think that on this team I'll help a lot with rim protection as well. And just like playing hard, I think Coach Beard wants us all to be playing as hard as we can, as much as we can in the game. So I think that those two things will come a lot into play.
Brian in front.
Dylan, real quick about just you were progressing really well at Vandy. What went into the decision of A, looking around, and then B, deciding to come here?
Yeah, it was just like conversations with my family. I had come back home for a little while, and it was tough being away from home last year with COVID. My family wasn't able to come to as many games as possible, so that was tough for me. So I just wanted to not only put myself in the best position to win and get to the next level, but also give my family the opportunity to watch me play as much as possible.
Nick in front, please.
Yeah, just for both Dylan and Courtney, it looks like y'all have had a lot of sort of team building activities this year, whether it's pickleball or swimming pool parties and stuff like that. How's that sort of helped y'all come together and just sort of get to know each other off the court as just individuals?
I feel like it allows us to be around each other more, especially with us living in the same apartment. So like each and every day you're around your teammates. So even off the court, just the little things Coach Beard has us does, and the things that people don't see in the public eye, I feel like it's going to bring us together in the future.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that just learning about each other more is going to help us with team chemistry and things like that.
Christina on the far right.
Yeah, Dylan. So I know back at Vandy you had the nickname Bambi because you were just kind of long and lean, and you seemed to get a little out of control whenever you're driving downhill. What have you been doing to kind of get yourself in a position where you can have a little more control over your body and just move a little quicker on your feet?
I just want to preface this answer by saying that was my freshman year nickname, and I grew out of it my sophomore year. So I just want to let everybody know that.
Great clarification.
But yeah, I think that going into my second year at Vandy, I just want to play more under control, play off of 2 feet, and then coming here, that's a lot of things that Coach Beer preaches, is playing off 2 feet and being under control, and those things are a lot of things that translate to the next level. So I think that will help even more this year.
Jeff Barker in the back first.
Dylan, you mentioned this being your dream school growing up and, you know, coming out of high school. What do you think that moment will be like for you and your family when you finally get out to, you know, play your first game on the court there?
Yeah, I think it'll just be a dream come true, honestly. My mom always wanted to see me go here. I think my dad's an A&M fan, so, and maybe not necessarily, but it will be great to see him, see his son play here, so that would be great.
Chris in the camera roll.
Courtney, the Big 12 preseason poll came out. You guys are picked second behind Kansas. I see that smirk on your face. You probably knew this was coming. How much discussion is there about the preseason poll? What do you think about being picked second ahead of the national champs and behind Kansas, all that?
Honestly, I really haven't thought about it because it's preseason. We still have games to be played, and I feel like that would be determined later in the season. But I feel like for preseason, it's a lot of opinion-based, and opinions don't really matter because we're the ones that are gonna have to play.
Jeff in the front here.
Courtney, I know your first few years here, Shaka talked a lot about the passion you play with, making sure it gets, you know, funneled in the right direction. Do you feel like you're at a point now, from a maturity standpoint, where you can have that juice, but it's getting channeled in a positive direction where everybody can feed off of it the right way?
I think so far I've been good. There's some of the things that we talked about with Coach Beard from day one, just making sure I don't do the negative and just trying to make it positive. So I think so far it's been so good.
Ryan in front.
Yeah, kind of building on that. What's up? Building on what Jeff asked, you probably knows it. But you have had to do that. You've been the only guy that's had to do that, and for several years now. I mean, do you have to be that way with these other veteran guys? Because I mean, these are older, experienced guys who know what they're doing. Do you have to go in and raise hell? I guess. Do you feel like you have to do that as much?
I don't think so. I just think my role with Shaka was to be one of those guys, and I wanted to play, so that's what I wanted to do. I think what Coach Beard installed in me was just like, you can control it. It's certain times to do it and certain times not to do it. And I think now I just kind of grasp, like, okay, I have to mature and understand what he's saying is right. But I feel like now being an older team, I don't have to do those type of things.
Time for 2 last ones for the players. Brian, go ahead with the follow.
Just real quick, I mean, just you, Andrew, Brock, you know, Jason, just how badly do y'all want it this year? I mean, how do you describe that?
I want it bad because, like, I think a lot of people talk about last year's game against ACU a lot, and, like, I moved past it the day after. But I feel like it's kind of like when Virginia lost in the first round a couple years ago, and then they came back and rewrote history. I feel like we kind of have that similar mindset, like, why not? Why can't that be us?
Right.
So I think that should be our mindset this year.
Nick in front.
Yeah, Courtney, I'm curious, have you gone back and, you know, watched film or the whole game of the Abilene game? I'm just curious, and if you have, you know, what sort of, I guess, emotions does that dredge up, and how have you sort of processed what happened that night?
It's always tough losing your last game of the year, but losing that game kind of felt different. So while I was getting my mouth stitched up, I had to get stitches. I actually watched the game, and then the next day I put it behind me. Like, there's no reason to soak. So I feel like this year I'm going to use it as motivation once we get back to that point.
Keenan, last one here.
Hey, Courtney. So from 2 years ago to last year, you significantly increased your three-point and free throw percentages. What kind of extra improvements are you focused on for making this year, and is shooting one of those priorities?
It's every day just understanding, like, last year doesn't really matter because it's a whole new year. So there's things I can improve on. I think the biggest thing that I can improve on is my shot selection and just being ready to shoot. So those are things that I work on every day. And it's putting up the reps. I think great shooters are great shooters because they put up a lot of reps. And that's something I do every day.
Gentlemen, thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Bad day.
Raise hands for questions for Coach, please. Jeff here in the front left. Start.
Coach, there have been a lot of, that was one thing Shaka really harped on Courtney with, was taking that juice but channeling in the right direction. What have you worked on specifically to make sure, you know, he can be himself, but make sure it's in a positive manner where everybody can feed off of it the right way?
Yeah, it's just like with most elite competitors, their strength is also maybe their weakness. You know, like, you don't play with that swag that Allen Iverson played with, the MVP of the NBA, under 6 foot. without being an absolute killer. And so what makes him the best player also, so it's, you know, it's what I always thought about football players, NFL football players, they're gladiators, man. You know, so like, you know, you're gonna do that on Sunday, but then, you know, you're in a bar and somebody pops into you. I mean, you know, they're gladiators. So, you know, with Courtney, I don't want to change Courtney. That's for damn sure. I made that very evident the first conversation we ever had. I don't want you to change. I just want you to be the best version of yourself. So, just a little bit more poise in big moments, but I definitely don't want to turn the volume down. I want to get it at the right level and keep it there. And he's been nothing short of great. You know, not good. I'm a guy. I'm always going to tell you all the truth. You know, I don't get up here and try to figure out what I'm going to say today. I answer the question. So we haven't played a game, and we haven't had a lot of adversity yet, and we know that's coming. So all I can do is tell you about Courtney Ramey from the day I got the job till today. And in this time period, he's been nothing short of perfect. I mean, he's done everything he told us he would do. Now, when the lights come on, like everybody else in the organization, can we count on you when the lights are on? We'll see. But I'm betting on him. You know, I've never been more excited to coach a guy in a one-year setting like this than Ramey.
Serenity in front, please.
Coach, you're coming into a program that a lot of the faces are new. It's a new team, even for you and just for each other. How have you helped them have the chemistry with each other this year?
Yeah, to me, chemistry is all about relationships, and relationships take time. So the big thing we always try to do is just try to win each day. You know, I think what we're fighting more than anything with any first-year team, and I've done it 7 times now, it's you're just fighting time. So, and we explain to the guys that, you know, anybody that says a relationship just happens naturally, I respectfully disagree. You know, think about the relationships you're in. You got to work at them, you know. Teams are no different. So what we try to do every day is we just try to recognize the fact that we're fighting time here a little bit, and we just work really hard at it. And these guys have been great. They've really bought in.
Brian in front.
Yeah, good when I see about Dylan. I mean, how common is it for guys to get passed over by the school, their dream school, and they gotta go somewhere else, and they want to turn around and beat the crap out of that team, whatever. I mean, what is that like as a coach in the recruiting process when you're seeing them, like somebody who wanted to go to Tech, hypothetically, and now somebody wants to come to Texas, and you can't take them.
Yeah, I can't speak for what happened here. What I would tell you is Shaka just had 3 people in the NBA draft a couple months ago, so it wasn't like I'm sure if he had one more scholarship, he probably would have took Dylan. I don't want to speak for him, but it's not like, I don't think it was Shaka's impression that Dylan can't play. It's like, right. You can't take everybody. It's back in the old days, when, no scholarship limits. That was a totally different game. So, but I'm familiar with who Shaka was recruiting. We competed against those guys and stuff. But he was signing great players, so can't take everybody. I think great players though find ways to motivate themselves. It's like one of my favorite parts of that last stand deal we all watched during the COVID. You remember, what was the story? Jordan goes in the restaurant and the Utah coach is there.
Yeah, he doesn't
say, I don't know. I don't want to speak for Coach Sloan, but he might have just been like, I don't want to piss off Mike by saying something. But elite competitors like Jordan, they find that motivation. Every single day you find motivation. So I don't know what y'all heard, but I heard a little bit of that in Dylan's voice, and it doesn't surprise me because competitors are always looking for an edge, And I thought I heard a little bit of it in Ramey's voice today too, on the preseason polls and all this stuff. But Dylan's a good player. We all knew that. Everybody in this part of the country knew him. He was a high-level player on the circuit. He was just a developing player is what he was.
Joe in front, please.
I think that most outlets have talked about how we all have, I know this is a throwaway term, but won the off season, but I know you kind of alluded to it, that doesn't count the record at all. So how do you kind of tell Courtney and Dylan and all these guys, no matter how hot your off season was and the positive press, that in a couple weeks you got to actually start winning games for that to matter?
Yeah, we talk about it daily. We call it rap poison. We stole those words from one of the best coaches in history, but it's just true. It's like I think different kinds of ways to win. some coaches just don't talk about it at all. It's not really my style because I want to talk about the obvious, you know. It's like during the COVID, a couple years ago, like, you know, remember one day we're having this really tough practice and we come back in with the team and the reality, the elephant in the room was, are we even going to have a season? You know, and I think some coaches just took that deal like, well, I can't control that. I got to prepare the team like we're going to have a season. I was like, yes, I mean, we can do both, right? We can tell the truth and we can live in the moment. So same thing with the polls, and you know, guys got their faces on magazines. We're getting a little respect from people because of the individual talent, right? Nothing our team's done is we've never played a game. You know, anything we get is just it's a respect for our individual players, is what it is. But we talk about it all the time, you know. It's rat poison. It doesn't matter until we get out there and back it up.
Nick in front, please.
Yeah, Chris, Courtney mentioned Jalen a little bit earlier. I'm just curious to know how he's handled being in an environment with, you know, all these veteran guys that have been through the, you know, playing at the NCAA at a really high level for multiple years. You know, what have you seen from him? How has he acclimated and adjusted? And, you know, what have you seen, I guess, from his relationship with Courtney?
Yeah, we'll try to get Jalen up here for you guys really soon. I don't want to speak for him, but Jalen's a talented guy that we have a long-time relationship with him, having recruited him at our last stop. And, you know, he's a special guy for so many reasons. He's got a great family. His mom and his dad and his brother, they're connected. I tell the players all the time, you know, it's pretty important who's on your bus. And to me, the best players I've ever coached, they don't have a lot of people on their bus. You know, they got a lot of people maybe standing outside the bus, waving, and stop from time to time at, you know, at Buc-ee's or whatever, but like on the bus. And Jalen's got a special bus because he's connected. He's got some special trainers that did a great job with him in player development. Mom and dad are elite. Brothers, big time player, high school football player. And then his high school coach did a great job. So, you know, with Jalen, he's almost prepared for this moment. He's got a unique situation. We explained this to him, you know, in recruiting. It's pretty cool. Like every freshman has a different path. He has such an opportunity to come in here and just learn from these veteran players. But I'll be clear, I'm not talking about learning from the bench. I mean, he's in the fight and he's got a chance to compete, and we expect him to have an on-court role this year, no doubt about it.
Keenan Farlow.
Hey, Coach. So both of those guys are going to be high-level rotation players. You sort of spoke about Courtney already. What do you see out of Dylan that's impressed you so far?
Dylan's basketball?
Yeah, basketball, personality-wise.
Yeah, he's just a skilled player. He's not a big. He's a positionless guy. You know, might be one of the best shooters we have on our team. Well, not might be. He is one of the best shooters on our team, maybe the best. I mean, he shoots the ball when it leaves his wrist. You feel it's Jace Febris. You know, I mean, he can shoot, and he can also score back to the basket. His body of work in the SEC is real. He's a talented guy defensively because of his length and his IQ. He was an SEC scholar, academic, athlete of the year. I mean, this is Vanderbilt too, right? So like, you know, sometimes he says things to me in practice, and I'm like, say that again. Like, you know, I think I did tell him the first Zoom. I don't know if I'm smart enough to coach you, but if you want to come to Texas, we can do it together. But he's just he's the real deal. And then just like Jalen, he's got another great family structure. You know, and I mean that's an advantage. You know, can you be a great player without that? Of course. But when you have that support, it's an advantage. It's a real advantage. So, Dad is an Aggie, and we don't have a problem with that. When we did the first Zoom, his dad popped on. He had a big Texas A&M flag behind him, and it's kind of an awkwardness. And I looked at him. He just smiled. And then when Dylan committed, his dad put the horns up for the first time. So it was almost like hesitating doing it and stuff. But, I don't want to speak for him, but I do think he loves his son more than he loves his alma mater. But he loves his alma mater.
Serenity in front, please.
Yeah, Coach, you are dealing with, like I said before, a lot of new faces. How tough has it been breaking them out of possible old habits from old schools or just old high school habits?
This is just college basketball now. You know, the days of first day of practice and you got 11 returners that have been in your program for you. This is what college basketball is, what the NBA is now. You know, I grew up and I knew every year that Worthy was going to be on the Lakers and Mikal was still on the Celtics. I didn't have to go buy a magazine. Now I follow the NBA more than most people. I don't really, there's players I don't even know what team they're on. In college basketball is, you know, it's kind of following. Whether that's good or bad, that's, you know, I don't make the rules. So, you don't spend a lot of time thinking about that. I understand the question, but we just try to do the best job we can every day. We just put teams together. Some people might think it's a short period, but my personal journey, it's normal to me. I've always put teams together in a short amount of time, so it kind of feels normal to me.
Jeff in the front left.
Chris, you talked a lot about the positionless kind of mindset, philosophy. How important is that with big specifically, where you're not trying to pigeonhole a guy, hey, you're a stretch 4 or you're a 5. You're just out there.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I think it helps us in recruiting, our style of play, because ultimately the guys we recruit at Texas, they got one thing in mind. They're trying to become NBA players. And from time to time, you might have an exception. I think Avery Benson, he dreams of running a ranch one day, and being on that Yellowstone show. But, Avery's kind of a unique guy. These other guys, it's all about trying to be pros. That's what this level's about. We understand that. So to do that, we play in a way that's very similar to how the NBA plays. We don't play with back-to-basket 5 men. And we really don't play with just guys that screen and roll. You got to bring something else to the table to be able to play here. And I think the way we play, helps those guys visualize this is what I got to do to be an NBA player. And the other thing is everybody thinks about that on the offensive end of the floor, but the defensive end of the floor, the NBA has a style of play too. You better be able to guard more than one position. You better be able to switch. Better be able to play without fouling. So a lot of things that we value defensively, we get straight from the NBA too. So I think our style of play helps us.
Time for 2 or 3 last ones. Brian in front.
So what is the update on his knee?
Definitely ahead of schedule. Doing great. He's in full contact basketball, just not quite 5-on-5 yet. So I would tell you, from the time that we had that first phone call with Dylan to right now, I feel great about where we are. I feel like we're kind of ahead of schedule. His word, I forget if he said safe or conservative, like we're going to do right by him. The objective here is for him to be a long-time basketball player, play till he's 40. So all those decisions are made by the doctors in Warren, not me. But I made sure that everybody understood from the very first recruiting call that we're in this for the long haul. It would be great if Dylan could have a double-double on November 9th. But more important to me is coaching him in a Monday night game one time and maybe 2. And then certainly, watching him play in the NBA one day is the ultimate goal for me.
Tyler in the back, please.
Chris, with tip-off in that exhibition just 18 days away, where would you evaluate where your team is at in preparation for the season as a whole right now?
Is it 18 days?
If my math is correct.
That's scary. I thought it was 20-something.
November 9th is the 20th. No, he's talking about.
I guess the exhibition, just,
Oh, yeah, okay,
just to
okay,
get
yeah.
like to play in a competitive
Yeah.
atmosphere.
Sorry about that, Coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, exhibition's just a part of the process for me. It's like just the next practice. But the November 9th game, it's 20-something away, and that's concerning to me. We got a long ways to go. It's always that fine line between in practice each day, just what's our identity and what are we trying to get done, and then the daunting task of everything that we got to get in at some point. But I would much rather be really, really good at a couple things than average at a bunch of things opening day. So, and I think you'll see that with our teams. Our teams are going to improve over time, and so that's the objective. But yeah, you start feeling the urgency right now. I think the closed door scrimmages and exhibitions, they're starting kind of this week. You go to the corner store and the basketball magazines are popping up, and obviously it's football season, but you just start kind of feeling it. The weather changes, and it's right around the corner. So I feel great urgency because I just want to do my job. And my job, simply stated, is to put our players in a position to win. And so I'm running out of time to get that done. But it's an exciting time right now. There's a lot of urgency in the program. I think that's a good thing. Also wanted to recognize, I talked about Coach Black earlier. Coach Penders is coming back in town today, and we hope that he'll be at practice. He's going to be inducted into the Hall of Honor. I need to figure that. Is that what it's called? Hall of Honor. So it's just going to be great to have Coach P back, and a lot of Coach P's players and staff and former guys are going to be in town this weekend. So I want to congratulate everybody going in the Hall of Honor in all the sports this weekend from men's basketball, but a special congrats to Coach Penders because that's personal for me.
Jeff, last one left.
Chris, you talked about the process leading up to November 9th. just wondering, in the stops you've been at where you've done this year one, is there like a blueprint you follow at each place, a checklist of things you want to get done, or does that vary from stop to stop based on personnel? How do you look at that in terms of what you want to get done by the end?
Yeah, a little both, because I think we're always kind of studying the past to be better in the present. I spend a lot of time just thinking about and studying all the great players I coach. You know, like what made Keenan Keenan? You know, why was Moretti the most improved player in college basketball between 1 and 2? What went into that summer? That's kind of how my mind works. My ADD's kicking in. What was your question?
Do you have like a blueprint you like to
Yeah,
follow?
okay.
Or does it vary?
Yeah, so the one we probably think about more than anything is the Little Rock team, because the Little Rock team, we came in and we had new players, inherited players, you know, not much expectations. I guess that's a little different here on the outside, but that team went on to win the conference championship, the conference tournament championship, and I want to say this accurately, it's the best team ever in the history of the Sun Belt Conference, record-wise. We won 30 games, beat Purdue in the NCAA tournament, and then Iowa State had a guy, I swear he was Superman out there, George Niang, and it was like playing against Superman out there that day. I thought we could beat them, but George had something different to think. Coach Prone's a really good coach too. But yeah, we think about things that have happened in the past, and that's just where I've been. You know, I also asked Rodney Terry and Jarence and Uric and everybody. But yeah, it's a common conversation in our coaches' meetings and in our. We don't really have an office this year. We call it the what do we call it?
The lounge?
The loffice. Lounge, office, the loffice. You like that?
Shopper's old office?
Yeah, the loffice. But yeah, we talk about that a lot. You know, just kind of like. And then on the other hand, we've had some first-year teams that were really good, but they never got into the championship conversation. And you think back, you know, what could we do differently? But yeah, we actually do that a lot. Study our past teams, put you in a good focal point. And I know one thing I do every year is I go back and watch last year's games, you know, 1 through 31. Why? Just kind of, because the first game of college basketball is different than the 10th and different than the March. So it kind of get your mind right. Like I was watching our first game from 18-19 the other day, and the thing that glares out, what happens on opening night a lot? Fouls. You know, there's nobody that shows up on opening night that doesn't win, doesn't want to win. There's nobody that shows up on opening night that doesn't play hard. It's opening night. But what you see a lot is a lot of fouls early. So that got my mind right. And the focal point the next day in practice was let's limit fouling. So things like that, I think it's pretty cool mentally just to kind of you know, go from there. Football, same way, like a lot of penalties early on. You know, most college football teams will be completely different in their bowl game than they were the first game of the season. That kind of stuff fascinates me. That's kind of what I think about.